Welcome back to Red Hawk Media. Again, we're looking at Final Cut Pro. Today we're talking about color correction and layering video so that you can get that film effect. Everybody's taken video, and I'm sure you've all had the experience where you look at your video and look at something Hollywood made and wonder how exactly they got that effect. So today we're going to take a look at that. We've got a sequence all put together here of the Evan Riley Band, and basically he's just moving along the alleyway here. If I scrub through that, you can see him moving along. You can see the coloring's not too bad. These are all the original clips without any coloring, just cut to piece together to fit the music here. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a slightly different look. Now, one thing that's going to help you is your sequence may be put onto multiple layers, and it may be between 3 or 4 layers. If you can condense it down to a single layer like this and piece it all together, that's going to make life a whole lot easier. So first step here, we're going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this. And then if I hold Shift and Alt, you'll see this funny navigator thing come up with a plus sign. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drag down the top layer now, which will automatically make a copy of it, and drop that. Scrub through it, make sure all the frames are lined up, otherwise it's going to look really funny if they're not. And that looks good. And now I begin to make the changes here. First change, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, and we're going to apply one of my most favorite effects here, because you use it all the time, no matter what kind of video you're doing, is the three-way color corrector. To find this, from the very beginning here, you've got your effects panel. Some of you may have your effects tab up along in your browser window. If that's the case, you can drag it down, or you can just click on your effects tab. Now, if you go into the video filters, drop that down, and you go into color correction, you'll see the three-way color corrector. If you know you're going to be doing a lot more on Final Cut Pro, I would recommend dragging it up into your favorites folder, so it's just a lot easier to get to. I believe I've already got it up there along with my chroma key here. Okay, but for today's purposes, we'll drag it out of here. So I drag that out on the highlighted segments, and that applies it to every one of those clips. So now all of them have the three-color corrector. What that means is if I, anywhere along the way here, double-click on one of these clips, you'll see now up in the viewer window that I've got a three-way color corrector tab. Okay. It's a really simple adjustment on this first one. We're going to take all of these clips and we're just going to desaturate them. In other words, we are going to make them black and white. Okay. Now, nice part is I don't have to repeat the same exact process on every one of these clips. What I can do is I can grab the drag filter up here, and that will allow me to apply it automatically just by dragging this onto any of the clips that I have. So we've got the first and the second one now. Let's get the third clip. Drag it onto the next one here. And let's get that last clip there. Boom. Now, if I go along here, everything's in black and white. Now, the question is why do we have 2 layers if we're going to make the top one black and white here? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We are going to make one more adjustment to this top layer that is going to allow it to overlay the bottom layer. So I highlight it all again, and I right-click on it. And in the menu that drops down here, we have what's called the composite mode. There's a lot of different things that we can do here. The one that we're looking for in particular is just overlay. And now we've got a little bit more of that film effect going on here. Okay? And with a little bit of tweaking here, I can take out the brightness of his white armband, unless that's the look I'm going for. But you can see the textures are a whole lot different in the coloring, and it's a lot more interesting to look like. It's got a lot more depth to it. This clip is one of my favorites right here. Just the shadowing and everything is really nicely done. Matches up with the trumpet. But you get the idea. Obviously, a dramatic difference from the beginning to the end. If I hit Command Z and we go back, okay, you can see black and white versus the original one, and yeah, way different. Definitely more of a film look to it. Now, if I want to, what I would want to go into is go into the color corrector on one of these clips, or possibly into them individually since they're in slightly different locations. And now I can make some changes on it. So I double click on the clip itself, go back to the three-way color corrector, and I can adjust my whites. So maybe I don't want it that bright. Okay, maybe I want it a little bit different. Maybe I want it brighter, all washed out. Okay, I can drag that along to kind of get the look that I'm looking for here. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Maybe I want this to be a little bit more of a cool feeling here. Cool as in color and temperature. And let's say I drag this more over to the blues over here. Okay, and now that gives me a little bit different feeling on the whites here. I can do that on each of these color sliders, so I can take the mids, adjust those out to get them where they want to be. And again, if I want that cool effect, I can drag the mids over a little bit towards the blue. And then lastly, we've got the blacks, and I can make them a little bit brighter, or if I want a kind of a darker look with high contrast kind of, I can bring this down more. I'm going to bring it down just below the median mark here, and even with the blacks, I'm going to drag those over to the blue. Okay, so now I've recolored this clip. It's got just a little bit different look than the rest. You can see how the whites are not as bright as the original setup that we had. But once I create that look that I like, again, all I have to do is I can take the drag filter and I can drag it onto each of the clips after that. Okay? That's how we can color correct our sequence, make it a little bit more film friendly, make it a little bit more grainy and professional. And I invite you to tinker around with this and see what you can come up with. Each movie has got its own individual look that's unique, so feel free to try different settings here and see what you can come up with. Thanks for joining us today. This has been another episode of Red Hawk Media, and we'll see you again.